If you want to get something done, give it to somebody that's doing something. A busy person always is working, 100%. Right? And so if you want to get something done, give it to somebody that's busy. You know, it's those people that are just sitting around doing nothing where nothing's getting done.
Yeah. Hey there, welcome to the CA podcast. I'm Chad and I'm with
Vinny.
Yeehaw. Yeah. How you doing, Vinny?
Good, man.
Yeah.
It's fun to be on again.
Yeah, it is. Our seasons of life right now are very busy.
Yes.
You're a father of 400.
Father. Yes.
of like 20.
Yeah. You know what's funny is when I was growing up, Abraham was like my favorite. Like Father Abraham, many sons, right? And yeah, I didn't really think I was gonna be in the category of that, but apparently
I think you are.
Yeah.
But with that, May comes with a lot of milestones in kids' lives.
Yes.
A lot.
Especially when they're in high school.
Right.
And graduating.
Yep. And you got birthdays and
so yeah, we have birthdays in May. Three of those. I mean, it's like there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
It's the crazy right now, like it's it's like a December almost.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, like December's crazy usually because of Christmas season.
Everything. Yeah.
This season for us is like there's just everything. And thankfully, there's not a wedding this year. So
there was
last year. So they're celebrating 1 year, and so that's happening at the end of the month.
That's crazy.
It's like wild. It's a wild time.
Yeah, I remember that last year. That was because we were still doing the culture show.
Yep.
And so I remember Lance was kind of making fun of you pretty much every single episode about that leading up to it.
Yeah.
And because of how busy you were. And how he was taking over unders on how much time you'd missed in the office and all that stuff. And
I missed how many days?
I think it was like maybe a combined 2.
2 days.
I think it was like one day you went to Columbus and then another day you had to do something. But it was, you said it would basically be a day or 2. And he was assuming it would be an entire week.
Yeah. He thought it was going to be like a month. I'm like, come on, man. It's like.
So, but with that, like, how do you manage, because you've gone through it before, but how do you manage busy seasons and still like be present in the moment? Because you're going through all these different things. How do you because, when you're at an event, because I'm in this way, you're at something, you're halfway through the month or whatever, and you're at something, how do you keep your mind present in that moment and not on the next moment? Because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with.
So I think for me, it's realizing that it's going to happen regardless.
Right. Oh, that's
right.
Good.
Like the things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Whether I stress about it or not.
Right. That's good.
Right. And so I've learned to kind of alleviate the anxiety and the stress of things by just knowing, hey, it's going to happen. Right. I don't have to stress so much. I just have to know when things are happening and whatever. So like the scheduling is important. My wife has 3 different calendars right now in place for just her.
Wow.
And like what's going on with the ministry, what's going on with the house, what's going on with life, and so like there's a calendar when I leave the house. And so it's like shows everything that's happening that week. And what's going on. So you have to lay things out for yourself. So it be, and thankfully my wife is very much a planner when it comes to that kind of thing.
Right.
So, and we kind of talked through things before the month, and that was super important because otherwise, like I would have forgot my daughter's birthday was, yesterday. This is going to air later, but like, it's like, but we're still able to celebrate and do all those things.
Yeah.
So it's just knowing that, hey, you don't have to stress so much. It's going to happen. It's going to be good as long as you just know, hey, it's happening.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so like you said, but by being in the moment, right? I feel like it's better to be in that part than to worry about what's coming next.
Yeah.
Right? Because so it's my daughter's birthday the other day, yesterday, but we celebrated it a few days ago and like had cake and all that stuff for her and just celebrate her and whatever. And it's like, those are the moments like you want to be a part of.
Right.
And like you have to and there's so many things happening here at the office right now. That's crazy. And like, it's like, okay, I can prioritize, right. And make sure that I'm doing the things I need to do here to make sure that I have the time I need to have with the family and all these events that are happening. So like that's how I kind of deal with it. So what's your What's your secret to your sauce?
So to be honest, like my biggest thing is just communication, because I think that's the biggest thing. So like, you watching, because you were a part of it, is like when I left, well, the one thing I started doing is like, because I was in and out of the office for 5 weeks, or really in and out of state for 5 weeks.
Yeah, you were.
I had to communicate. So like I communicated with, I work for multiple people. I had to communicate with everybody. Hey, this is when I'm in. This is when I'm out.
Right.
This is when I'm in. This is when I'm out. This is what the time I have when I'm in. And so like, that's one thing we did is you or Brian picked me up from the airport and we came straight here. We filmed 1 or 2 episodes, came back the next day, filmed 1 or 2 episodes. And then, either I would fly out again or I'd have 2 more days, depending on what week it was. And then I would do other stuff with other people in town. But it was communication, because it was communication with the wife, like knowing, okay, hey, I only have to film 1 thing at the office today. I'm gonna be home at this time, because she had to deal with basically a 2-month-old and a 2.5-year-old, and so she needed to know like, when can I take a shower? It's these things of like, when,
gonna happen,
right? Because
hopefully she didn't go 8 days without a shower while you were gone. That
time. The good thing is my parents were in and out, so they were able to help her and stuff like that. But it was one of those things of like communicating like with her, because like, I would go to church, right?
Right.
Well, there was some times where, there were stretches where she basically had the kids for 7 days, no help. So when I was in town for those Wednesdays, it was one of those things of, hey, you know what? I'm going to put the kid down. I'm going to put Kate down, so that she doesn't have to do it, and then go to church. Right. Because, it was just one of those things of, hey, that's one of the only Wednesdays that I'm home. I was only home 2 Wednesdays out of 5 weeks. So that means that she basically had the kids and she had to put them down every night. So,
right.
She, in the way Finley is, he needed to go to sleep while Cade's having nap or bedtime.
Right.
So he's in the bath needing to get put down, and Finley's having to nap too, and he naps on her. So it was one of those things of like, it was stressful for her. So communicating with her and understanding like, okay, these are the things that would help mitigate stress for her. So then I come in and fill that in. Then I got to go, okay, go to church, go do this, this, and this. And then, previously to that, I was here at the office. So it's one of those things of like communication, because communication with y'all being like, okay, hey, we're filming. Like the cool thing is we got ahead in some of our filming too. Like, we weren't just like week to week. We actually got ahead of things. And it was just one of those things of communication, because what I've noticed is that even like the place I was going to, if there were weeks, or there was a week or 2 where there wasn't communication, and that was when the least amount of things happened, where it was like, man, like if we had just like had communication. But then the weeks where we laid things out and we're like, hey, this is, they were like, there's 1 week it was 14 videos in 72 hours.
Right.
Like but it was the communication. And so then the other side too is when I started realizing like, oh, this is like coming to an end, then it was like communicating what the new schedule looks like. So when that was ending, then it's like, okay, that's 5 weeks. Well, now it's like life still looks different though, because, my schedule in the office had changed right before I left.
Right.
So now we had only, like me and Amy had only lived that schedule for 1 week, where I, so now it's like, it's the opposite now, is saying, okay, hey, this is what's going on now. Hey, just a reminder. Oh, actually, I don't know the answer to that. Like, we're just going to have to see. So there's a lot of communication, because if you're not communicating with, because like what you're saying with your wife, like with her calendars, if she has her calendars and you don't communicate, like it's like, then you don't know what's going on.
Yep.
And so that's been the biggest thing for me, is just, and my wife has her calendars too. And her, hey, this day we're going to do this. So that means, hey, she needs the car. So then I have to, so there's a lot of like communication, because what I've realized is I've had busy seasons where I've lacked communication, and they're the most miserable seasons.
Right.
And then we just came out of probably one of the busiest seasons of our life since we moved here. And it was just kind of stress-free. Like, obviously, for her, it was tough with the kids and stuff. But like for us as a couple in communication, like it was stress-free,
right?
Because it was like, hey, I know this is going on. This is going on. I know that you need help during these times.
I know that
Yeah.
I think the overly communicating is huge, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people under communicate, and then they miss things, right?
Right.
And that was for us a season where there was a lot happening, and you're like, oh man, can't make it to that, can't do this,
Yep.
And it's like, it's tough. Like, even like, though we're so busy, my wife was like, hey, I'm going to go to a Bible study last night, like just for herself,
Yeah.
like, and it's like, that never happens, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, we're so busy
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
she's like, no, I'm just going to take some time and I'm going to go do this.
Right.
But okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like I'll always handle the kids.
Yeah.
No big deal. The little guy and I just hang
Yeah.
out and whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but it's cool to like, even they say that if you want to get something done, give it to somebody that's doing something.
That's good.
Right. So like if the busy person always is working,
100%.
right? And so if you want to get something done, give it to somebody that's busy. You know, it's those people that are just sitting around doing nothing where nothing's getting done.
Yeah.
And I think like I love being busy.
Yeah. Same.
I find like I thrive in that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more creative in that. I feel like more comes out of me in that. I want to do more. So like this season, I mean, I'm sitting at home last night working on stuff while my wife's at Bible study. Like I literally spent 3 hours working on a project, and it's like I didn't have to.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, well, you know, like I've spent all day doing other things. I'm gonna do this, blah 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 blah. You know, it's like that's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like it's what I wanted to do,
Right,
you know.
right.
So I have the freedom to do like my schedule and everything for church, for here is all over the place. But it's like finding the time to like make things happen and do things. It's good. Like whether you're busy or, you know, in that busy season, I don't know. I feel like that's where I thrive. And I know you do too. Like you hate being bored.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're sitting around doing nothing, forget it. You're like the most. You're
I'm miserable. Yeah,
not even funny.
miserable.
I don't mean that in a bad way.
No,
like,
no.
That's just who you are.
Yeah.
And it's like, but when you're busy, you're like, boom, like this stuff happening. Like you're running the office. You're like walking. You're talking. You're doing. And it's like, oh, Chad's a little busy right now. You know, like there's things going on. And like I think that's where when you find yourself in a place where it is a busy season, I feel that's when you're doing your best.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe not for everybody, but for me, I feel like I feel also for you, like that's where it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And one of the biggest things for me is, so I like to steward my busy seasons, but at the same time, be like, okay, like you said, like, hey, I'm not always going to be in busy seasons.
Right.
So I want to make sure that I get everything I can done in the busy seasons. But then the other side is, I know, and I'm sure you're this way because like you basically just said it, is I know when I hit veins of wanting to work, and I know I need to have things lined up so that I can knock them out. Because for instance, the way I work is, and just because production stuff, I got to have things set up, right? So there's like a setup process. I have all my, files and everything, my PNGs, like all of my system files, and then I can do the work. So I want to do the prep work on the back end so that when I feel like, okay, I'm ready to work, that stuff's there. So I do the pre-work so that when I'm ready and I have that, okay, let's go. Because it hit me Saturday night and we have a new show coming out really soon.
Yeah.
And we had 4 episodes of it filmed. I knocked all 4 out, that basically total almost an hour and a half, almost close to 2.
Yeah.
Knock it all out, knock reels out, knock the thumbnails out, knock all the graphics out, knock the motion stuff out, all of it. And it was literally, I did it within like a 3-4 hour period.
Right.
But I had everything lined up. So I knew as soon as I hit the window, because I had just done some stuff for our church, I just done stuff for another church. And then I was like, you know what? I still want to work. I was like, well, you know what? I have this needs to be hyper focused. So I just went to it, got it done. And I sent image to you. Like, here it is.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, like, what people don't realize about, like, what we're doing here is, like, we're working on so much stuff on a back end.
Yeah.
Right? That nobody even knows. Like, so when people ask it, what do you guys do? Well, we can't really, like, tell you what we're doing right now because it's stuff that we're not releasing.
Yeah.
Like, we have a podcast coming out very soon with a friend of ours. And, like, we haven't talked about it and done anything about it, advertised, none of it. And it's like, but we have all, like, how many hours of work into that do you think you have? Probably like 34, maybe a week's worth of work that you've done. Maybe probably even more than that.
Yeah.
And it's like months of stuff that we've done.
We've been talking about it since like last September.
Right.
Like, I mean, the dates kept moving because like life, like this person's life, our life, like we hit like like obviously like in November, Lance left. So there was a lot of things that were going on.
There's so many things happening here, like on the fact that you're like jet setting and like, and things like that. It's like the busyness of our lives.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the consistency in what we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing is like you can be busy, but stay consistent. Right. And stay doing things with excellence. Like you haven't dropped the ball.
No.
You know what I mean? Our stuff's still growing. Our things are still and like you were in this season of like mass like here, there, and everywhere. Right. I work 2 different places. Brian works 2 like Atlantis. Everybody's everywhere. And it's like, hey,
but everything works. Like, and that's the biggest thing is like, I think, because that's the other side. So the other side, all this is working with busy people when you're a busy person sometimes can be jarring because how other people process busyness is different. So thankfully, we all process busyness pretty similarly. I mean, at least mentally.
Pretty close.
And so like, it's one of those things where, but you know, there are some times where, and this is just the truth, but you'll have people that process busyness where they'll have moments of like, they'll just chill. And like that's what I've been around people that are like they're perceived as like lazy, but what they're doing is they're like mentally processing things. I'm not that way as much as I am more or less like, okay, I sit down and go, okay, I'm processing while I'm doing. There's other people that have to actually sit in like a quiet room, and have to go, okay, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. All right, when do I do it?
Right.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But the thing though is like,
as long as you're doing it after.
Right.
Like yeah.
And so, but you know, that's not how we're all very much like we're active doers and then we're processing while we're doing. And so I think that's kind of what's helped us like jive together is like that, like, you know, and so I think the biggest thing too, like my advice is like, if you're in a busy season, do take a minute to step back and look at the big picture.
Yeah.
Because the big picture is like, I mean, for us, it's like, and really everyone in this office, it's like, hey, like ultimately everything we're doing for our family, right? Like we're doing, put food on the table for our family. Like we're doing, so like, let's not lose sight of our family in spite, like just disappear for a month, right? Like, but it's because I had to be present. So that's one thing, like, I was busy. When I was home, I had to be present.
Right.
I had to be present for my wife. I had to be present for my kids because it's like, hey, I'm not here. I'm literally physically in a different state, you know, 3 to 5 days at a time. So I had to be physically present and mentally present. Like I had to, you know, put everything away, like play with my kid, you know, it's like, but so that's the thing. I had to step back and go, let's not forget why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And let's not forget that like, even in the busy season, I still have to be present because there's no excuse for a 2.5-year-old why his dad won't play with him. Right. Like, hey buddy, I'm busy. Like that doesn't compute with him, right? Now, the funny thing is he does understand work. So he'll take his little like leap pad and he'll say, I'm working like daddy. So like he does kind of start to understand the concept. So like, you know, but what I try to do is I try to get ahead enough that I can that like when he's getting put down for bed, that's when I start working.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes I have to start. So like, it's one of those things of like learning like when to work and when not to work. So then you can enjoy other moments. You know? And yes, that's what you were saying.
And last night, what did I do before I started working for a few hours, right? I'm hanging out with the kid, you know, the youngest one, and we're watching, I don't know what we watched yesterday, but it was something cartoony. And then, you know, shower him, do all that. And it's like, all right, you know, now you're in bed. I got some time, you know, and it's like, but my priority before that was, you know, all right, we're going to eat, we're going to do this, we're going to hanging out with, you know, taking the kids out, doing things. And it's like, that's the most important thing. So in the busyness, don't, like you said, don't miss what's most important. And that's your family. And I think we've kind of, I think we've hit this one. You know?
I like
it. We talked through, you know, what's priorities and making those first. We talked through, you know, doing your communication and scheduling and planning ahead. And I mean, that's when you're in a busy season, those are the things that are huge, that are important, but never miss the most important thing, and that's your family. So that's awesome. We wrapped that up in a bow.
I love
Look
that.
at that. Come on.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.